I think one of the exciting things about genomics is it just enhances and makes our information so much more accurate than ever before. One of the things that I've learned just by studying it and talking to the experts and looking at the accuracy values, when we pull the genomics on a bull or on a female, that's like when we get those EPDs back and those accuracies back, that's kind of like getting 10 calves. That's 10 phenotypes for calving ease, for weaning weight, for yearling weight, and even for carcass. And it's, you know, those of you that have gathered carcass data, 10 carcasses that's pretty important. That's a pretty good start on a proof. And when we think about measuring cattle, you know, many times, my friend Roy Wallace always used to say that, you know, a lot of times I'd rather have their environment or their scales than their cattle. And what he meant by that was, many times in the past, we as cattlemen have bought into environment. And I think, again, one of the things I admire about commercial cattlemen, because they're in this, they do this every day for a business, they understand that genomics, that's just what their DNA, that's what their genetic makeup is, that's the indicators for those traits of merit. And so, I mean, I like to think about, we had two full sisters. They were actually full sisters to GAR Objective 2345, who's the mother of progress and further progress, and who I believe is one of the great cows in our history. Deer Valley has that cow today, and she continues to do well. But those two full sisters on today's dollar beef index, just for a trait to compare, prior to doing their genomics, they were both $85 cows. When the genomics came back, one cow stayed at $85. The other cow went to about $40. Now, why was that? Because they weighed the same, they scanned the same. I mean, their scan weights and their marbled and their muscle, very, very similar. Well, it's kind of like I'm different than my brothers. I'm a lot different than my brothers. But because even though they're full sisters, they're not clones. They have different genotypes. And the biggest thing that changed the one cow was carcass weight. And she was a -9 or -10 for carcass weight. So that dramatically changed her value. And so I think it's always important that we understand that we have to measure and we have to submit these phenotypes, whether it's a birth weight or a weaning weight or carcass or heifer pregnancy. But we need to use the genomics to help refine that, to know what those genotypes are. And I think, you know, when you look at the 50K, I mean, what that means is they're looking at 50,000 markers. And I won't get this exactly right, but the experts tell me they now have a 770 or 780, which is 770,000 or 780,000 markers. And we may or may not in the future need and want to use that, but the cool thing is that 50K can be imputed up. And what that means is if I have a 50K versus these higher level markers, there's a rank correlation that's very, very high between those two. And if you really need and want, let's say on the Michael Jordan superstar bulls of the future, maybe we do want to impute those up. It's a little more expensive, but how much more expensive can it be than to multiply the wrong cattle because you've selected the wrong cattle?